Hey, let me check in again with The Club by Leo Damrosch, all about a social club that included, most primarily, it seems, for this book, Samuel Johnson and James Boswell, his biographer and kind of hanger-oner. Um, also, Edmund Burke, Adam Smith, um, and others, but we haven't gotten to them yet. Um, what we're getting in the sections that I'm talking about today, which are chapters 4 and 5, are very much a deep dive into the egotistical, super horny, um, um, flighty, highly agreeable, snobbish, um, uh, venereal ridden James Boswell, which um, fortunately Damrosch does a lot of psychoanalyzing. I guess because James Boswell, other than the famous um, biography of Johnson, The Life of Johnson, is also he left behind a ton of journals, which they have has been steadily mined over the thing, which I guess gives a certain kind of um, biographer a great license to come up with a lot of theories. Some of them distressingly pretty Freudian, um, which I don't know exactly how to take. I find Damrosch is a lot more engaging and interesting when he's doing less speculation than more showing than telling stories, select stories, tellings stories from those journals, and how not Johnson, Boswell, somewhat kind of does reveal himself. There was one where he he's like, look, he likes his he likes rough trade. He likes unleashing his libido on the lower class women. Um, and there's a situation where he dresses himself up, play acts as being a low class guy, even though everyone fucking sees through his little play outfits, and he makes a play for a woman, and tries to force her. It's like it's attempted rape. She starts yelling. A crowd gathers to kind of chastise him. He kind of yells at them, and he thinks, "Oh, I told them off, and they let me clear." Damrosch quite accurately says, what actually probably happened is they immediately saw through that he actually is a gentleman, and that any magistrate, if they got all holed up between a magistrate, guess what happened? The rich guy would get believed, and they would get fucked. So, you know, it's a very telling story on a couple of levels there. Um, Actually, the one who comes out far more sympathetic in all of this, in his attitudes towards sex workers, is Samuel Johnson, who is kind of much more aware of that these women are a lot of times are women, like, not professionals in that sense, but are people who have no money and have to make ends meet. So they do a little bit of sex work on the side, and God help them if they have to stay around in it. That you know it's a fucking horrible, hard life where you're getting abused by rich guys or even not so rich guys, and in a society where it's like, well, you're you're a wild woman going wrong, not like, fuck, I'm just a poor person who just needs some money, and this is the only thing I can sell that's gonna carry me through, bodily, through this time period. And Johnson seems to be far more aware of this, and is not doing all these ridiculous kind of play acting things throughout it, and doesn't seem to actually be interested in sex workers that way. He can be moralistic, but at least he actually, there's tells of a tale of him coming upon a woman kind of collapsed in a heap in the road, and assisting her, actually assisting her, getting her set up in the countryside, doing, just doing just a regular job, and isn't just him getting his rocks off, which Boswell does not come off well that way. Yes. Um, and apparently, super egotistical. He was a writer of poetry, doggerel, which he thought was really good, and nobody else thought was good. And you know, he presents some to a friend at one point, and the friend says like, "No, this is crap. This is just terrible." And it's like, ugh, terrible. And he runs off to some lady friends who immediately say, "Oh, well, he was quite dull. He didn't understand. And and Boswell makes a point of saying horrible things about his wife's, the friend's wife's, acting. I think, is it acting or something like that later, but saying it in the most innocent way, that he couldn't take offense because I was being smiley. And it's like, he's such a petty little asshole. Um, but also making the note that, like, he did do one thing in his life that he actually did really well, that excelled all others and has excelled a lot of people since, which is that biography of Johnson. And I know that from having read it. um, and I mean, there is also the thing of, like, a lot of people do have done a lot of shitty things in their life, but um, there's not very few people who've left records of that around, and much less have left a record of that around that's so vividly written, dramatized, that it has lasted up until this moment. So you got to kind of balance things. But yeah, I do find the kind of psychological stuff that Damaros gets into um, is a little bit I'd like a little bit of that push to one side, and just to actually have a little bit more just presentation of stuff versus telling me what I should think of Johnson. Yeah, yeah. So that's The Club, where we're definitely getting the deep dive. It feels like a very deep dive into Boswell, which is a little soiling in an interesting sort of way. It really gives you a picture of the era. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.